My name is Brian Robertson. I'll be your teacher to the lesson of Biblical Hebrew. I've been teaching Biblical Hebrew for the past 27 years. I received my undergraduate degree in Biblical Languages at Asbury College back in the early 80s, and then went to work my master's in Old Testament Semitic languages up in Chicago. Studied basically Hebrew, Greek, Aramaic, Akkadian, and Latin. Been teaching again in large and small settings. Been teaching Biblical Hebrew, and so I'm really looking forward to developing our VOD series of video on demand. Basically, it's going to make things available to people who just don't have the time, and they can study on their own time. You should have already bought your grammar book. The grammar book basically is called The Basics of Biblical Hebrew by Gary Pratico and Miles Van Pelt. You can get that from the link on our website at tobysplace.org. Also, you should have purchased your workbook also. And what we'd like to do is go ahead and make sure that you have read each chapter first, or each lesson first, before you go and view the VOD, which is the video on demand. After you go through the video on demand lesson, there'll be another lesson, which is basically the homework. And you'll go through and view that, and we'll go over the homework and explain all the nuances, the different aspects of the homework. We also will have what they call breakout sessions. On our website, we'll have the different breakout session links that you can attend to ask any questions about the particular lesson, about the homework, about any aspect of that lesson. There's going to be over 52 lessons. It'll take you over a year to go through, but by the time you get to that year, you should be fairly fluent in the Hebrew pronunciation, and to be able to read it, accent the proper syllables, and to be able to translate with a degree of confidence. Also, in the Hebrew word pictures, we'll give you some understanding of what each letter represents, the ideogram that each letter represents in the Hebrew letters. Hebrew alphabet consists of 23 consonants or letters. It is written from right to left, and that's one thing that's very interesting, is that all the nations east of Jerusalem write their languages from right to left, and all the nations west of Jerusalem write their languages from left to right. Thus, they're pointing directly to Jerusalem. I think it's very interesting, since Jerusalem is called the navel of the world, and so everything stems from that. Now, you also want to learn the names of the Hebrew letters and how each letter is pronunciated, and their transliterated value of each. And the reason for the transliteration values is that whenever you're reading commentaries or biblical study books, very often they do not use the Hebrew letters fonts. They use what they call the transliteration marks or symbols. And so in this course, you will learn both the transliteration marks for that purpose, in case you are reading outside in commentaries or word study books. They tend to use that. Okay, let's get started here with the alphabet here. Your first letter we have is called the Aleph. The Hebrew word picture for Aleph is actually like an ox with horns, kind of like the Texas Longhorn picture. And it is a silent letter. It does not have a sound of its own. The sound that comes from it comes mainly from the vowel that is placed in that letter. And the transliteration mark goes from left to right. It's kind of like a quotation mark. So the Aleph goes from left to right as a quotation mark here. Now, the Aleph Hebrew word picture stands for strength or herd. The word Aluv means to teach, a teacher. It is the first letter in the Hebrew word for God. Basically, as we get into it, you may want to go ahead and take our Hebrew word picture course too, which basically has more in depth into these letters. But as you're reading Hebrew, you'll start seeing these correlations of these combinations of letters put together, painting a larger picture, just more so than just the definition itself. Now, the second letter we get to is the letter Beit. It is basically, the word Beit means house. Beit Lechem, the house of bread, the house of food, is that term right there, and that letter is Beit. It's pronounced as a hard B, as in boy, and the transliteration mark is a small b. Now, the third letter is a Gimel. This is a Gimel. Pretty much comes from the root of Gamal, which is a camel. And if you would look in the Hebrew word pictures, it looks like a side profile of a camel. Its basic understanding and idea, ideogram, is that it's exalted. It's raised up. And so camels were used for carrying supplies, and they would get up off their feet and they'd raised up high. So anyhow, that basically is the letter Gimel. We pronunciate this with a hard G, as in God, and the transliteration is a small g, is the transliteration mark that you'd want to use. The fourth letter is a Dalet. You see here, it looks like kind of like a 7 almost, but it's the letter Dalet, and the letter Dalet actually is a doorway. And it's what Dalet means, is doorway. And so we have the letter Dalet here, which is the fourth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Its pronunciation is a duh, a D, as in day, a D sound, a duh sound here, and you have a transliteration value of a small d, English D. Okay, the fifth letter is Hey. Basically, it was Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew sign was like a fence. Looked like a fence turned sideways. It has the H sound as in hay. Transliteration sign is a small h. The hay is actually, the ideogram is like a window. Behold, whenever you see the letter at the end of the word, it means to behold, or it's like a window looking forth. We can get into that a little bit later on as you go through the Hebrew word picture course with us. The sixth letter, which is the letter Vav, or in ancient times it was Wow, W-A-W, pronunciated with a W sound, as in the word way. The transliteration value is a W. Now, the Vav is a nail, and it can join two things, or it obstructs the view. Basically, you will not find any Hebrew words starting with the letter Vav, which is very interesting. We'll get into that a little bit later on. The seventh letter is the letter Zayin. Zayin is pronunciated with a Z, as in Zion. The Zayin is actually a weapon, or an instrument, or a tool. We get the word Zakar, which means to remember. The word Zakar means a weapon to open up the head, to go back and get the information. That's basically what Zakar means, and it starts with the letter Zayin. It means to use a weapon that opens up the head. We have the next letter is Chet. The letter Chet, you can see it has a little dot up under it to give that guttural sound. And it's like a CH, as in Bach. Bach. Can you say Chet? Chet. What you would put is a small H with a dot up under the bottom of it to give it that difference between the Hey and the Chet. And the Chet is, the ideogram for a Chet is a fence. As I said before, the fence, it stands for, as a metaphor for the Word of God, the Torah, anything pertaining to the Word. And it acts as a boundary, to keep things out and to keep us in the boundaries of life. It delineates that which is life and that which is death in the scheme of things. So it's very interesting to understand the combinations with the letter Chet. Again, can't over stress to take that Hebrew word picture course. Chet is the 8th letter, which is eternity. The word is eternal. It will not come back to him void. The 9th letter is the letter Tet. The Tet is basically kind of like the curling up of the snake. It means the outer perimeter of an object. And so the outer area, the word Tet, is T as in toy, and you would put a small t with a dot up under it. Next letter, the 10th letter, Yod, is a hand. Paleo Hebrew is the hand with part of the forearm on it, and also represents part of the Tetragrammaton, or for the personal name of Adonai. And it is pronunciated with a Y sound in the English as yes. And we have basically the transliterational value of a Y. The next letter, which is the letter Kaf, is the numeral 20. So Yod is 10, Kaf is 20. This pronunciation is a K, hard K sound as in king. The Kaf is the open hand with 5 fingers. It means to open. It's the open palm of the hand. Is the Paleo Hebrew for that letter right there. Remember, that was part of the Zakar. You had the Zayin, you had the Kaf, which means an instrument to open, and then the next letter is a Resh, which we'll get to in a minute, which means the head. We're going to go to the next letter, which is the 12th letter of the Hebrew alphabet, and it's the Lamed, or the Lamed. The Lamed is a goat staff or a shepherd's staff. Its understanding is authority or the shepherd. And so a Lamed, actually the word lamad means to teach or to learn. That's where we get the word Talmudim from, this root, Lamed, Mem, and Dalet, to learn. So basically, those 3 letters come from, the pronunciation is L as in lion, with a transliterational value of a small English L. Okay, and of course the numeric value of Lamed is 30, and 30 is the age of one was a teacher or a rabbi after their studies, and that was when Yeshua started his ministry at 30 years old. Interesting that Yosef, was sold into slavery when he was 17, and God raised him up beside Pharaoh when he was 30. So it means authority. The Lamed means authority. It means shepherd. There's a process that we have to go through to enter into as a teacher or one who is brought into authority or a shepherd. The next letter we have is the letter Mem. The letter Mem means water, and its numerical value is 40. In the 9th chapter of Genesis, it rained 40 days and 40 nights with a lot of water. And so that's what Mayim, water. Its pronunciation is a M, mother, as in mother, and its transliteration value symbol that we would write would be a small m. The next letter, Nun. Paleo-Hebrew for Nun is like the side view of the water with fish darting out of it, and it stands for life. We have Yehoshua ben Nun, Joshua, which is Joshua the son of Nun, the son of life. And its pronunciation is a N, as in now, and we would write the transliterational value of the small n. And actually, Nun is 50, so that's the numerical value for 50. And we come to Samic, which is the numerical value for 60. Now, the Samic is a prop. It's that which props up, it holds up something. We see that Samic has its sound as an S sound, as in sin, and that its translational value is the small letter S. Ayin is the next letter, which is 70. And Ayin is actually, in the Paleo-Hebrew, was a oblong, like an eye, just a circle, oblong circle. Ayin also is another term which means springs or fountain, and it's been used in Jeremiah as a play on words. Oh, that my eyes were filled, or a well of tears. And it's play upon well and spring and tears and eyes. It's the second letter that we have that is actually silent. It doesn't have a sound on its own. Sounds come from the vowel itself, and it's written from right to left, kind of like the left side quotation marks. The next letter is AT for pay. The pay is the mouth, and it looks like a side view of a mouth here, with something right here. Maybe it's that adenoids or something in there, but anyhow, pay is the mouth, and it has a hard P sound, as in pastor. And the translated value is P, a small p. The next letter, which basically is 90, is the sade, is the hook or the branch. Kind of looks like a person kneeling down with his hands lifted up. That's the first letter of the word for Sadiq or Tzedek, a righteous person, a person who is humble, who is extending his arms up Adonai. And it starts, this sound is a TS sound, as in the word boots, a tsadi. And so what you have here is an S for translation symbol, is an S with a dot up under it. So we have an S for Samic, and then we have a S with a dot up under it for Sade, giving that TS sound. The next letter we have is Kof, which is your 100, Kof. And the Kof is actually the back side of the head. That's what it means, the back side of the head, the Kof. And its translational value, actually, sound is a K. Just like the Kaf, it has a hard sound, as in king. But it's translated with, instead of with a K, it's translated with a Q, its translational value. We have the Resh, or the Resh, which is the head, or the beginning. That's where the word Bereshit, it comes from Rashit, which is first, or in the beginning. In the beginning, Bereshit. That's the term for Genesis, the first word in the book of Genesis. It has a R sound, as in run, and its value symbol is a small r. The sin and the shin were originally one, but later developed into two letters. The Hebrew alphabet originally was 22 letters. The Hebrew canon originally, from Genesis to the Law, the Prophets, and the Writings, originally was 22 books. We eventually became separated into the books of the Bible. 1st, 2nd Samuel were separated, 1st, 2nd Kings. So, but they originally were 22 letters, or 22 books, matching each letter of the alphabet. The shin means teeth, but we have here the sin or the seen, and it's an S sound with an S with an accent mark. The shin or sheen, the sin, the dot is to the left, and always remember sin is to the left and shin is to the right. And it has the SH sound as in ship, and its translational value is an S with a little, what they call a caret over the top of it. Gives the SH, lets you know you have to pronounce it with an SH sound. And last but not least, we have the tav, or the tau, either way, ancient pronunciation. And it has a T sound as in toy, and its value, translational value, is a small t. Okay, so we're going to go through this in just a second. Let's just go through a few facts that we've already talked about. First one is basically that the ayin, the aleph, and the ayin have no sound. They are silent. Basically, the ayin does have some phonetic value, but it's the way that it's pronunciated, rolled over. But it's basically, for our consideration, silent. The only thing that gives it the sound mainly is the vowel that's with it. Now, these two consonants normally take a class vowel, like an A in there. Of course, we'll get into the vowels in lesson 2. But for right now, just realize that the aleph and the ayin are silent. They basically have no phonetic value to them. Means they have no sound of their own. As mentioned before, Hebrew is written from right to left, not left to right as in English. And in the following order, begin on the right. You'll need to study and memorize the 23 consonants of the Hebrew alphabet. Let's just go over them. We're going to say Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Hey, Vav, Zayin, Chet, Tet, Yod, Kaf, Lamed, Mem, Nun, Samek, Ain, Pei, Tsare, Kof, Resh, Sin, Shin, Tav. Okay, well, just keep going through that and practicing that. It'll take a little time for it to come in order, and you memorize the order, but after a while, it will be like the back of your hand. You won't even think about it. You'll go through it. Also, in Hebrew, we have 5 of the Hebrew letters have a final form. That is to say that when one of these letters occurs at the end of the word, it's written differently than when it appears in the beginning or the middle of the word. Now, the change of the letter's form doesn't change its pronunciation or its transliteration. Now, the 5 final forms are listed below, and they're called sophites. Sophit in Hebrew means ending or final. And so let's go through these first 5. The first 5 basically is the kaf. We recognize the kaf. This is the kaf sophit. It has a flat head and then a long neck. kind of looks like a camel. It looks like a very long dalet. This would actually go below the line. You can see here in Derek, it goes below the line here, written in red here. And Derek is the road or way. The second form we have, the second letter is Mem Sofit. Here's your regular Mem, but here's your Mem Sofit. Of course, this has a squared bottom where the regular Mem looks rounded. As in the word example is Am, which is nation or people. We have the transliteration values here of that mark and the M for nation or people. That's a Mem Sofit. Third, we have the Nun Sofit here. Nun Sofit looks a little bit like the Kaf Sofit, except it doesn't have as long of a horizontal member going across here. And you could get it confused a little bit with Vav, but it's actually a little longer than Vav, and you'll get used to that when you see it. We have the word Zaken, which is an old man or elder, and you can see how the Nun Sofit goes down, pretty long, about the same length as the Kof right here. The fourth letter we have is Pei. Now this one here is the Pei Sofit. Here you can see this is kind of like a lot like the Kaf Sofit, but it has this little vertical member that comes down, goes in. And Kesef is an example that we have. It's money or silver. So this is the Dalet Sofit, or the final Kaf Sofit, the Mem Sofit, the Nun Sofit, and the Pei Sofit. Last but not least, we have the Sadi Sofit. Basically here, it's kind of like an inverted Y turned around. That's what it looks like. And it goes below the line too. Here you can see it in red, the Sadi Sofit. These are found at the ends of the words here, and it's for earth or land. So I just want to make you aware that you do have 5 forms, final forms of the Hebrew alphabet that are used differently at the end of the word versus in the middle or in the beginning of the word. Also, we have 6 Hebrew consonants that have 2 possible but closely related pronunciations. These are known as the BIBHBLS consonants. This term is simply a mnemonic device allowing for easy memorization. We have the Beit, the Gimel, the Dalet, the Kaf, the Pei, and the Tav. Now, to distinguish between these 2 pronunciations, a dot called a dagesh is added to these 5 consonants. And the presence of the dagesh lene indicates a hard pronunciation. And its absence, if you have these letters without a dagesh, then it gives it a soft pronunciation. A dagesh lene will only appear in BIBHBLS letters. Okay, it won't appear in the other letters. It's only in the Beit, the Gimel, the Dalet, the Kaf, the Pei, and the Tav that the dagesh lene will be in there. Okay, let's get on down here to these examples here that they give you here. First, we have the Bet with the dagesh lene. That gives that hard sound as we learned. The B as in boy, and it's transliterated with the small b. Now, when it's without a dagesh, then it takes a V sound, as in V as in vine, and it's softer. And so the transliteration mark for it would be a B with a line up under it. Gimel, a hard G sound, as in God, and it's a small g as we've learned before. But without the dagesh, it's a softer sound, although we don't make any distinction or differentiation between it. It's a GH sound as in Agast. So its transliteration mark is a G with a line over the top of it. Dalet is the next one with a dot. It's a hard D sound as in day, and of course we would write a small d. But its counterpart without the Dagesh Lane is a DH sound or a TH sound, the, versus a duh. But we don't make really any distinction today in Hebrew. We pretty much say a hard D on it. And it would be a D with a line up under it. It's its transliteration value. Kaf, we have Kaf, the next letter here with a dot, is a hard K sound as in king, with a K as its transliterational symbol. Without the Dagesh, it's a Chaf sound. It's a CH as in Bach. Bach. It's a kind of like it's kind of like a C with a H sound on there. We would transliterate it with a K with a line up under it. The next letter is P. P as in pastor with a small P sound. And we have its sister as a Fe without a Dagesh Lane. PH sound as in Aleph bet or alphabet. P, its translation value, is a P with a line over the top of it. Next we have Tav with a Dagesh in it. It's a T as in toy, and we would put a small t for its value. Its counterpart is Thav with a TH sound as in thin, and it would be a T with a line up under it. Now we don't make really any distinctions between the Tav and the Thav, or the Dalet here, or the Gimel. Most we make the distinctions between the Beit, the Kaf, and the Pei in here in biblical Hebrew. Although there was a distinction that was made back in the ancient world when they spoke it, we don't make any distinction between those. And now you can say a thav if you want to, a th sound when you pronunciate it. That would be okay. But most pronunciate it pretty much as a hard T sound now. Also, we have 4 of our Hebrew letters are called gutturals. These gutturals are Aleph, Ayin, Hey, and Chet. Sometimes Resh will behave like a guttural, and we'll learn certain rules that govern these consonants later on. They're called gutturals because they're pronunciated in the back of the throat. Although the Ayin and the Aleph and Ayin really don't have a sound of their own, the Hey and the Chet and the Resh do. Ayin does too somewhat, but these are considered gutturals here. It's also easy to confuse some of the letters too, and when we get into these letters we can see that, you can think that Beit may look like the Kaf, or the Gimel like the Nun. The Hey, the Chet, and the Taf may be a little bit confusing sometimes. The Sin and the Shin, the Mem and the Samik, the final Mem, the Mem Sofit and the Samik look a lot alike. The Dalet and the Resh, the Sadi and the Ayin, and also a Vav and a Zayin can be confused sometimes. And a Vav and a Nun Sofit, or a final Nun, can be confused too. A Kaf Sofit and a Nun Sofit can be somewhat confused if you're not familiar with the letters on there. But of course, as you look at them and you see them, are exposed to the different letters here, it will become pretty evident for you. Now, there are a couple of Hebrew letters that do sound alike. They have the same sounds. The Tet, remember the Tet, and the Tav with a Dagesh in it have a hard T sound. The Kaf with a Dagesh Lane and the Kof have a K sound, and the Samik and the Sin have an S sound. So basically, that's it for lesson 1 today. Just go through and do your homework, practice writing the Hebrew letters, and also just go ahead and pronunciate the names of the letters in there. And again, it will take time to get it memorized and going through it, but I would just write it and say it, write it and say it, going from right to left, and go through the homework, do all the homework you have, and we will get back in for the homework in the next lesson as part of this series.